If you're a fan of our KBO show with Tokyo Brandon and Adam Trigger, we have a special offer to get you any of their KBO or Japanese baseball releases for free. For a limited time, you can lock in MLB through the World Series for Tokyo Brandon or Adam Trigger for the super early bird price of $6.99 each, and we will include any KBO or Japanese baseball releases through the championships. Normally priced at an additional $4.99 per sport, absolutely free. To purchase all of these sports during this time frame, it would cost you over $1,800. But by locking yourself in early, we are dropping the cost all the way down to $6.99.
Welcome on into the KBO show. Who wants to talk national championship when there's Asian baseball to get into? Come on. We're the show for you when you're looking to grow your bankroll. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, joined by the experts in handicapping Asian baseball, Adam Trigger, Tokyo Brandon, with me each and every episode. And we're excited, fresh off the heels of an exciting opening weekend. Plenty to recap. Plenty of actionable info to get you as well for these midweek series that we have coming up. Excited to get into it. Let's welcome the guys in, and we'll start with you, Adam. How did opening weekend fare for you? And it is $9 Monday here at WagerTalk, where you can get all of our handicappers plays that are loaded for today or overnight for Tuesday, KBO style. You can get them just for $9 here, and not each and every Monday at WagerTalk. Trig, how you doing, my man? And what do you have up for your clients?
Yeah, weekend was good. 2-1 in my 3 KBO plays. One was an underdog plus 120 winner. So decent weekend. I've got a play up that goes tomorrow morning. Just one play for me on Tuesday. That's up for $9. And there's a couple things that came close that caught my eye, and we'll talk about them on the show.
It's no longer Arizona, Brandon. He's back to be in Tokyo, Brandon, back in his homestay there. So, Brandon, how are you doing, my man? $9 Monday, always exciting. Nice, affordable ways for people to be a part and get on board with you. What do you have up for the clients, and how was opening weekend for you, man?
Yeah, I'm back into the New York groove. No, I'm just kidding.
Right at the top.
Yeah, I'm a big Kiss fan. But anyway, the weekend was great. I went 9-1 in my Japanese KBO plays combined. And I would have been 10-0 if it weren't for one of the ugliest beats in my career. In the second game of the KT Samsung game, I had a 3-0, 3-0 lead going into the 9th inning. And the best bullpen in Korea blew that and gave up 6 runs. And then in the bottom of the 9th, KT came back and scored 2 or 5 or something like that. In any case, that 9th inning killed my bet and made me 9-1, unfortunately. But 9-1, I will take it. Today is $9 Monday, and I do have a 5% play in Japanese baseball. It's a straight-up money line play, which I love. It's $9, and it's available in every book that has Japanese and Korean baseball. So I'm feeling pretty good about last week's shows. Last week plays, and I'm ready to win some more money this week.
You have 5% play loaded for Tokyo Brandon. That should be like a bat signal, especially on $9 Monday. Run over wt.buzz/TB. So today on the episode, what we're going to get into, we're going to do a little recap of what took place during opening weekend. We're also going to roll down our featured game breakdown as we do on every episode here. The guys are going to have some series breakdowns, some actionable info in the 2-pack for you in the midweek action. And then, of course, we're going to have that actionable info everybody likes, free best bets to end the program here. So, guys, let's get right into it with just what we kind of learned during opening weekend. We had 3 teams go perfect: the Doosan Bears, the LG Twins, and my SSG Landers, just picking off logos alone there. All 3 of those teams sweep the weekend. KT Wiz, the Samsung Lions, the Kiwoom Heroes, and the Lotte Giants all go 1-1. 0-2, looking for their first win this week, is going to to be the NC Dinos, the Kia Tigers, and the Hanwha Eagles. Adam, I'm going to throw it your way here because you talked about on our episode on Thursday just how you were kind of going to attack playing totals to start the year, something you learned during preseason play in the KBO. Did you play a lot of unders this weekend? And if you were maybe on the fence about some of them, how did attacking the totals and kind of looking towards the unders work out for you, Trig?
Well, it worked out fine for me because I only played one, and it won pretty easily. But I want to kind of circle back to this because something that I guess Brandon and I this wouldn't surprise us. We're used to it. We've been doing this, for a while, but it sort of like confirms exactly what I think about how the odds makers set the lines in this league. Very reactive, a lot of overreactions, and I'll just use the totals to explain just to illustrate that happening this weekend. Totals come out for opening day. Every single total is 8. I think one was 7.5. We knew that would probably happen with the expanded strike zone, whatnot. Some of your top pitchers on the mound, and 4 of those games were on pace to go under pretty easily. 2 of them got blown up late in the game. LG and Kia ended up with a 5 spot in the 9th inning. Lotte, Kaiwum, there was a 5 spot in the 8th inning. The only game that kind of easily went over, which in the end was really not that easy of an over, was Doosan and Hanwha 6-4. The other 2 games, 4-0 in a game where we saw Wilmer Font go perfect through 9 innings. And Kia and Samsung, which played to a 4-1 final. So 2 easy unders. So unders on opening day, 2 and 3, 2 easy winners, and the 3 losses were, maybe arguably bad beats. Come to Sunday, all of a sudden we see 8.5s, 9s, 9.5s. I think there was a 10 for the totals because, a couple games went over, and every game on Sunday should have been an easy under win. Brandon took the horrific beat in Samsung KT, which was a 3-0 game going into the 9th inning. The other games, SSG NC 4-1, Kaiwum Lotte, which was the one I hit, 4-3, Kia and LG 3-2, Doosan Hanwha 1-0. So the point I'm going to make is this. What I think you're going to want to do when targeting these unders is you got to find the sweet spot with the good pitchers that maybe aren't like the huge names, or maybe you've got one huge name and one guy that's not quite as sort of notable, because when the books see big name versus big name, they're going to instantly throw you a 7.5 or an 8, and you're not going to be able to bet it. You're going to want to look in the 8 to 9, 9.5 range when you can find a guy that's maybe a little bit undervalued. And I think that the unders are probably going to continue to hit in those scenarios because what's going to happen is every once in a while, these bullpens, not great. Every once in a while, they're going to blow a game late, and it's going to keep the books honest, I think, where if you can pick your spots, there's going to still be a lot of value betting unders.
Yeah, and, people listening in probably thinking, well, I don't want to have to scour the board and find these spots. Well, that's why you listen into the KBO show. You buy these guys packages because they'll do all that work for you. You can find some great edges in some lower volume markets here. At the top, Tokyo, Brandon, you kind of already alluded to this already about the bad beat. And, Adam kind of bolsters the point there. Is that something people should kind of be, who are new to KBO, expecting, is when the bullpen start coming in, you may have an easy under that becomes anything but? Is that something that you've seen with your experience handicapping the KBO, is that, maybe unders, they don't come as easy as they should because after these starters hop off the mound, it's really guesswork?
Yeah, well, this is one of the points that we focused on in the last show, which is that KBO teams really have no depth. And when you get into the second game, third game, or even fourth game, they rarely play 4-game series, but second game, third game of a series, you start to see the depth come up. And these are, one step above little league level when you get to the fourth string, third string players. So I think my biggest takeaway from the weekend is pretty much what I expected. Adam and I know what we're talking about. Kia, Hanwha suck. Kiwoom is the measuring stick of mediocrity, and KT, SSG have really good bullpens. And besides KT blowing up and giving up that 6 spot or 5 spot in the 9th inning, I mean, it's gonna happen, but they still have a good bullpen. And you could see going into the 9th inning, most of these games were under until the backups came in. So I think it's pretty much played out how I expected. Kiwoom's right in the middle. Kia and Hama are at the bottom, and we'll see. The one thing that did surprise me is that Doosan's doing so well, but yeah, I mean, it's one series, it's 2 games, so we can't put too much stock in it. But I think the biggest takeaway is, given Adam's record and my record over the weekend, we kind of know our stuff pretty well, and hopefully we'll keep winning.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll continue to get to learn from these guys here on the KBO show. Guys, Tokyo Brandon kind of alludes to it right there. The Doosan Bears. Why don't we get into it? Our featured game breakdown, some actionable info right here at the top for you folks tuning in. And we appreciate you. If you like the show, hit that like button, drop us a subscribe, drop in the comments. Let us know who you're eyeing this week in KBO action. We got the Doosan Bears taking on the Samsung Lions. Lions a slight favorite here on the money line, minus 135. You get a take back of plus 115 on the Bears. Over under, one of those formulaic numbers that Adam talked about. We're seeing an 8.5 here in our featured game breakdown. Tokyo Brandon, I'll throw it right back your way. You said you were kind of surprised with how strong Doosan started the year. It is just one series. What are you thinking as they take on the Lions? 2-0 against the Lions, 1-1. How are you breaking down this matchup, Brandon?
So I look at the starting pitchers, the bullpens, and the lineups. And the lineups so far pretty even, and going back to last year seem pretty even. The bullpens are both kind of evenly bad. So I think the only discrepancy I can find here between these two teams so far this season is in the starting pitching. I have them ranked both fairly high. Wante In was started the season last year really well, and he kind of tailed off at the end and had a couple of blowups, a couple of bad starts at the end. But at the beginning of the season, he was a moneymaker, blind bet on moneymaker at the beginning of the season. Lee Young Ha for Doosan is kind of an aging guy. He's dropping off. His career numbers are a lot better than his 2021 numbers, which tells me that I expect more regression from him. But I don't like Samsung's bullpen. So if I was to make a play in this game, and I actually did already put this play out, but I'll just give it out on the show. I'm betting Samsung to take the first 5 on the money line, because really between these two teams, the only discrepancy I see between them is starting pitching. And despite the numbers, my gut feeling says the starting pitching discrepancy is a little bit bigger than the numbers show. So I'm on Samsung first 5.
So Samsung first 5, what Tokyo Brandon is eyeing, and he's also alluding to a bit of a discrepancy between the two pitching staffs, at least as far as the starting pitching goes. You see it a similar way, Adam, or what are you eyeing as the Doosan Bears are taking on the Samsung Lions?
Yeah, so this is not my game up for sale. So I'll just give you my full handicap here. Ultimately, I didn't get to the window with anything in this game, but so from a side perspective, I'd really like to fade both of these teams right now. Obviously, they're playing each other, so we can't do that. Young Ha Lee for Doosan, as Brandon said, regression over the last couple of years, especially last year, and to take it a step further, he was worse as a starter. So they had him in the bullpen. He was actually pretty good in the bullpen last year. So I find it interesting that Doosan's moving him back into the starting rotation, because I think it's actually going to hurt their bullpen at some point, because I felt like he was pretty solid when he was in relief closing games. He was kind of a big part of Doosan's run to get to the final last year. Now he's a starter, so that leaves a hole in their bullpen, and I don't really trust him as a starter. With that being said, I like Wante In quite a bit, but I just don't like the Samsung team right now. I think they're still down a guy to COVID. And, we talked on the preview show, outside of their, kind of the top half of their lineup, there's holes in this lineup. So unfortunately, I just don't trust Lee and Doosan's pitching enough here to jump in and make a play on the under. And the number it kind of priced me out. 8.5 seems to be like my threshold for unders. Once it gets to 8 or lower, I usually pass, just because we know what can happen in this spot. If I had to bet this game, I'd go under 8.5. Samsung really didn't hit over the weekend. They had sort of one big inning, and I agree with Brandon. Big early edge with the pitching. Wante Yin's very good. So when I slice, look at everything, not a huge fan of either lineup right now. I think the pitching could get this there under 8.5.
That's Adam Trigger. Also, Tokyo Brandon here, our Asian baseball handicapping experts at WagerTalk. They love baseball, all forms. So right now you can lock in their MLB through the World Series, either Tokyo Brandon or Adam Trigger, a super early bird price of just $6.99 each. And that will include their MLB, their KBO, and their Japanese baseball selections. That would be around $1,800, give or take, if you wanted to lock that in. So get that early bird pricing while it is still available for a limited time. Lock in all 3 leagues, all access from Adam or Brandon, just $6.99 each. Head over to their handicapper pages, wagertalk.com. Guys, let's get into some series breakdowns, as there's midweek action, and then we have our show on Thursday previewing the weekend. So this, I guess, you could call it week 2 of action here, second set of games. Adam, we're going to give you first crack, as you're kind of looking for some teams who something's got to give, right? 2 teams that are looking for their first wins of the season. It's the Kia Tigers, who are 0-2, coming off being swept by the LG Twins, taking on the Hanwha Eagles. They were just swept by Doosan. Trig, how are you breaking down this series, and what are you kind of eyeing either side?
Yeah, so interesting that these 2 teams play each other now after going 0-2 over the weekend. I think the knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, here we go again, worst 2 teams in the league. And I don't know that's the case. Maybe it is with Hanwha. I think Kia, listen, they had to play LG over the weekend. Really good team, really good pitching. What we learned is the LG bullpen is phenomenal again. And Kia they had a tough time hitting what I consider to be really good pitching. Now Kia's gonna come into this series, and they're gonna get the back end of Hanwha's rotation, which is, so I talked about Hanwha on the show last week. That's the one bet I lost this week, in Hanwha plus 1.5 against Doosan in a game where they lost 6-4. I actually thought they were probably the better team in that game. A couple bad errors that led to runs that ended up costing me the plus 1.5. I wanted to come back with the plus 1.5 the next day. Turns out the price ended up being minus 155. I couldn't justify it at that number, and it does get there. They lose a 1-0 game to Doosan. So I don't think either of these teams are as bad as the 0-2 is making them out to be. But in this series specifically, let's start in game 1. Here's some actionable info right here. This line open, Kia was like minus 145, instantly hit, bet up like 30 cents right off the bat. Which tells me that if there's any sharp money in this market, it definitely hit Kia at the open, because typically you don't see the betting public come out and just like bet KBO games like right when the number opens. So just to dive into that a little bit, you got Ronnie Williams, who's an import starter. I don't know a ton about him because he's kind of a minor league guy, never made it to the bigs. Now he's in the KBO. But I will say that he's got to have an edge over what Han was throwing out there tonight. It's a Dae-Hung Yun. Believe he started a few games last year, ended up in the bullpen. Not a huge book on him. Hasn't pitched a ton. I think he's sort of been up in the mix the last 2 seasons for Hanwha. But didn't pitch well in the spring. So I have to think Kia's got a pretty nice advantage in the first game. I look for Kia to take that game tonight. I'll talk about it more in the best bet section. But again, let's look for the overreaction. If Kia wins here and Hanwha comes back later in this series with one of their better starters, we still haven't seen Carpenter, might get a really good price on Hanwha in a game they can win. So interesting series here. I do like Kia in the opener, but I do think we might see some value on Hanwha later in the series. And if I get to the window with a best bet, I'll certainly, be giving it out. So just stay tuned.
You're muted, Dan.
So a potential zigzag being set up, a potential zigzag being set up there if the way the Trigger's trying to break this one down is correct, you could potentially be getting the buyback in the second game of the series there on Hanwha. If the Kia Tigers do get home, you'll hear a little bit more analysis on that one coming up in our best bet segment. Brandon, you're looking to keep following this hot hand, and also a bad beat, not enough for you to stay away from talking about the KT Wiz. You're looking to preview in your series breakdown the SSG Landers, who come into this week's game 2-0 against the 1-1 KT Wiz. Also looks like we're going to be getting former Yankees pitcher Ivan Nova on the mound for SSG in game 1 of this series. How are you breaking this one down between the Wiz and the Landers, Tokyo?
Dan, he's the muted man.
Oh God!
So this one, I see. You see, I use the Heart Magic Man reference there. Anyways, we got SSG and KT, and we've got Ivanova and Odorizmo Despaigne, who are really good starters. And as a matter of fact, both of these teams have pretty good starting rotations. They both have really good bullpens as well. So I'm going to keep this very short and simple without going into a lot of detail. I am going to be looking at unders in this series, even though KT's bullpen just broke my heart and kept me from going 10-0 last weekend. I'm going to be looking at unders because, like I said in our last show, I had been betting SSG unders blindly in the preseason, and they were paying off more than a 60% clip for me. And KT, just the pitching staff that they have, even after Nova and Despaigne, they have good starters coming up in line. And I think probably these two teams have two of the best starting 4 rotations in the game. So I think unders is how I'm going to be going here. If you see any 8.5s in this series, take the under. If your book offers first 5 unders, if you see 4.5s, that's also something I would be taking. Of course, it does depend a little bit on the starting pitching, but for this first matchup, I definitely, with Nova and Despaigne, I definitely would take a first 5 under if there's a 4.5 there. 3.5, might think about it, but full game 8.5, definitely under. Full game 8, to be honest, there's not a big difference between 8 and 8.5 to me. The difference is if it lands on 8, you push or win. One or the other. And if it goes to 9, you lose both of them. So basically 8.5 or 8, you're hoping for a total of 8. So if I see 8s and 8.5s in this series, might make a small percentage if it's 8 on the under. But if I see an 8.5, I'll bump it up to a 3 or 4% of play on the under in this series.
So is SSG and KT taking each other on there? 8.5 worth looking towards the under, according to one of our Asian baseball experts, Tokyo. Brandon. And if that isn't direct enough for you for actionable info, let's get into it, guys. Everybody loves the free best bets here on the KBO show. Adam, we'll throw it your way because you were kind of alluding to it during your breakdown there, as you have maybe a money line play as a free bet for folks here on the KBO show. Remind people what you have up and your best bet for today's edition of the KBO show, Trig.
Yeah, so there's one play I absolutely love tonight. That's the one that's up for sale, 4% play for $9 at WagerTalk.com. The next thing that sort of really the only other thing on tonight's board that makes sense to me is Kia to beat Hanwha in that game. Unfortunately, that move priced me out of doing anything like, best bet. It could be, I haven't even checked it in the last hour or two. It could be up to minus 180 at this point. But I mean, you could do something with it, right? Like you could money line parlay it to something. If you have an open parlay option, start a parlay with it. But I really do think there's an edge for Kia, or just bet a little smaller and bet the money line. I do think there's an edge for Kia in this game. They've got their import starter, Ronnie Williams, making his debut against a guy for Hanwha that really probably shouldn't be a starter in this league, at least not based on what he's done yet. I know he's younger. He could show some promise at some point, but the reality with Hanwha is, and I'll just throw this out there in general, I'm probably not going to back Hanwha unless it's Ryan Carpenter, Nick Kingham, or Kim their domestic sort of best pitcher. If it's not one of those three, Han was probably a fade. And in my opinion, you're getting a pretty big disparity in starting pitcher here. I still think Kia's got the better lineup. I just think they ran into a really good top to bottom pitching against LG over the weekend. So we'll probably see Kia finally hit a little bit in this series. So I give Kia the advantage tonight. Kia on the money line to get the win here. You know, it is a pricier money line, so play it smaller, parlay with something. But outside of my 4% play that I have up, this is the next best thing on the board for me. Kia getting the win over Hanwha in the opener of their 3-game series tonight.
So there you go, Adam Trigger going with the money line on the Kia Tigers. This is, of course, the KBO show, but we're always asking these guys, what are they looking at around Asian baseball? And Tokyo Brandon is the embodiment of that, because his best bet he's got for you today, you're going to some NPB action. Yakult Swallows taking on the Chunichi Dragons. How was the pronunciation, Tokyo Brandon? And what is your best bet for the folks on today's edition of the show?
Pronunciation is spot on. It's Yakult Swallows and Chunichi Dragons. So very nice. Good job, Dan. Let me add something to what Adam said. I'm not on this game, the Kia and Hanwha game, but yeah, Hanwha's starter, Yoondae Kyun, he was a reliever last year. And I, in my research, just to back up Adam's play tonight, he had 2 relief appearances against Kia, just 1 inning each, and he gave up runs in each one. So I kind of agree with Adam there. The Ronnie Williams situation, I don't know if he's going to be good or bad, so I'm staying away from that game because it's an unknown to me. But just to add my 2 cents to Adam's play. So I have the Yakult Swallows going against the Chunichi Dragons here. And I don't know if anyone remembers Cy Snead from the major leagues, but he played for the Astros in 2019, 2020. He was basically a non-factor. He bounced between minors and majors, and he really never made a splash in the majors. He's pitching in Japan. And last year for the Yakult Swallows, he was excellent. He had 1 bad start, and the rest of them were just solid. He was a bet-on guy. And he's playing against the Chunichi Dragons, who are the they are the worst hitting team in Japan. So after 7 games, they're averaging about 2.3 runs a game. They're terrible. They're one of those teams that has good pitching and bad hitting, and all their games always go under. Can't think of an MLB equivalent right now, but Yakult are the defending champions. Their bats have been pretty cold so far, but they have serious power in their lineup with Murakami. They got Yamada, they got Osuna, they got Santana. I mean, they can rock it. And Chunichi doesn't have one guy. They have a guy named Bichedo. He's not even close to any of those 4 guys I just named for Yakult. So the numbers that they're putting out for Yakult right now, I think it's minus 130 or something, should be like minus 210, because Yakult, I think, will just tear Chunichi apart today. It's a 3% play that I've given to clients, but I'll give it out free on this show. I'm on Yakult Swallows on the money line against Chunichi tonight.
How about that? Tokyo Brandon dropping some gold. Some of his 3% plays dropped earlier in the show. There's a reason why you want to listen live. Hit those before they move. So to recap our best bet segment on the show, Adam, he says you might have to lay a little bit of juice to do it, but take Kia on the money line over Hanwha, and Tokyo Brandon going to the NPB, the Yakult Swallows money line over the Chunichi Dragons. There you go, our best bets for today. Also want to remind you, head over to these guys' pages. It is $9 Monday. You can get their best bets loaded right now on their pages. You see them on the screen. Also want to remind you, the $6.99 early bird special. Get KBO, NPB, and their MLB selections all tied together in one package. One of the best values you're going to find. So that does it for us. Another successful edition of the KBO show. Make sure if you're enjoying what you're seeing, hit a like, drop in the comments below, hit us with subscribe here so you know when we're going live, and we'll see you Thursday, hopefully with some more money in hand here on the KBO show.
If you're a fan of our KBO show with Tokyo Brandon and Adam Trigger, we have a special offer to get you any of their KBO or Japanese baseball releases for free. For a limited time, you can lock in MLB through the World Series for Tokyo Brandon or Adam Trigger for the super early bird price of $6.99 each. and we will include any KBO or Japanese baseball releases through the championships. Normally priced at an additional $4.99 per sport, absolutely free. To purchase all of these sports during this time frame, it would cost you over $1,800, but by locking yourself in early, we are dropping the cost all the way down to $6.99.